what happened here.
Summer.
Okay. So we're live, we're streaming, everything seems good.
I'm not seeing anybody if you're streaming.
It just started, it takes a couple seconds to sync.
I hear you on,
Oh no, hang on, this is the wrong one. We don't see the live stream yet.
Just go to the Parker Dorado YouTube channel. It's definitely streaming.
I see the camera moving around, but no one's sitting at the table.
Hang on.
Check 1 2. Stream check 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, you're watching the old one.
Yeah, but it doesn't show us a new one where it doesn't say live.
Yeah, it does. I'm watching it right now. Go to the Parker Dorado YouTube channel.
Drones allow us to explore areas that we would otherwise.
Yeah, see, if someone else is writing me, they don't see it. I'm on the YouTube channel. I see the previous live stream and it says
Just refresh the page. It's on the top. I'm literally looking at it right now.
Refresh the page.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Wait, YouTube.
Marla, can you turn your camera on real quick?
Sure.
You're going to pop up on the screen.
Oh, I see Eric and Kenny.
You see yourself?
Nope, not yet.
That's right.
Oh, here I am.
I still.
Okay, so everything is good. I'll control
You, but I can't
what we
see.
need to, and I'll hand it over to the board.
I can hear you, but I can't see.
There must be you can't turn your oh no.
Oh wait, I got it now, I think. Yeah.
There's a delay. Clyde, there's a delay.
Okay, but I'm seeing it very small. Wait.
Which one you'll be using, mic 1?
And Robert has.
Seeing it size of
on
a
your mic,
Post-it
Robert.
for some reason.
Robert's number 2.
Okay.
Sheets. I need one more. I got 2 agendas. Two more of those. Okay, we're ready to get started, Robert. I call the meeting to order. Number 2, mic on. Number 2, it needs, that's Robert. Okay, folks, thank you all for coming tonight. This is a very quick meeting to ratify 5 contracts that were approved by the board in the last several months, but we have to ratify them tonight and take a vote. And and then we're going to adjourn and move on to our town hall meeting, which is going to be very interesting and very important. This is probably the most important meeting we're going to have this year. So get your questions ready for the end of that presentation, because it's going to impact all of us. So with that being said, let's do a roll call, starting with Eric. Do we have Clyde on? I see Marla.
I'm here, Clyde's here.
Okay, and Marla, thank you.
Uh,
And we have the proof of notice of meeting that went up 48 hours prior. And we'll get right on to the new business by approving these contracts. First one was the Schinder Elevator Modernization Project. And that, of course, has already been approved and in the motion. That's, the equipment's being shipped, and that'll be covered by Joe Mancini later on in his presentation. So we need a vote, please. Approve. Yays? Okay. Motion by Eric, second by Alex Sorella. Brooke, you writing those? Write that down. We'll move on with the vote. Robert, we approve? Approve. Robert Wilson. Marla?
Yes,
Clyde? We hear one from Clyde. A yes vote or no? Maybe? He muted, okay. We'll get to Clyde on that in a couple of seconds. We'll move on to number 2, which is the,
Hear me now?
we can hear you, yes.
Yes, it's a yes for me.
Thank you. The amounts of the contracts will be covered. You have those numbers, right, Joe? No? They're available on our website and in the office if you'd like. No. Like I said, on the website, everything's on the website, so please visit there occasionally. You'll see everything, including all the bids. Innovative Media Services, which is the access control and the ADA swing doors. A vote to Robert, thank you for making the motion to approve. Second, Alex Sorella seconded. And let's hear from the board. Marla,
yeah, I agree.
Clyde,
Yes, I agree.
motion's passed as 7-0. Number 3 is the Core Restoration LLC, which is our storm drain project. We have a motion to approve. Alex, second by Robert. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. All in favor, 7-0. Number 4 is Tyrone Electrical, which is doing their Turtle Lake project, which has already begun. We have a motion to approve. Want to make a motion? Eric made a motion, second by Alex. All in favor? Number 5 is the upper and lower mechanical room upgrades by Airstrom Mechanical Group. Motion by Robert, second by Alex Sorella. Motion carried. All approved.
Approve.
Yep.
Okay, that
Yes.
conducts our business for today. Do we want to take any questions? Okay, want to move on? We can adjourn. Motion to adjourn? Adjourn. Motion by Robert to adjourn. Brooke?
Seconded.
Motion.
Aye.
Motion by Robert to adjourn. Second by Eric. Okay, we can enjoy some coffee, some snacks while the presenters get their presentation boards and get ready for a fun evening of information. Thanks again. Yeah, they can give it to Joe.
I told you to do them all at once. I asked you, I didn't tell you, I asked you.
Sure, but they get these people, that they, I knew they were gonna want prices on these things. Yeah. But I said, fine, I don't wanna go on the website. He's the one that screwed up everything in the first place.
I'm on. Yes, I'm on.
100%. And, just get our- we don't perform 100%. And, just say a little like.
Hello.
We're here, Clyde. We're just they're taking a break, so just stay put. I'll tell you when people are back. No, you're not. You're good.
Not online with these guys. You're not worried about
You can rewatch it online.
All right, I'll just dump it.
If you were my height, I'd say okay, but.
Joe?
Hope, you hear me?
Okay, a little higher.
Yes, we can hear you, Clyde.
You can? Okay, good. Because I can't see on YouTube.
Clyde, turn your microphone off.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Okay, we're going to get started with our presentation. The man that needs no introduction, Joe Mancini, which you've all met many times. He's going to give us the latest and greatest on the updates of every project. Please hold your questions to the end because it's going to be a relatively short presentation. Then we'll get into questions, and Joe will be here to answer all of them. Right, Joe?
All of them?
You're on.
I guess so. Do you have room for me to sleep somewhere here tonight? I guess I can. Good evening, everyone. How are you? So thank you for inviting me back again. It's now the second year that we've been here working on the Parker Dorado, and the building itself is already well in its stage of revitalization. And what I'd like to do is I'll give you, through the presentation or the PowerPoint, it's quite basic. It's just a point that I'm giving you the original PowerPoint presentation that was delivered in 2018, was giving you an example of what you currently have in the building, and we've updated it to show you where we sit today. So, and in the projects itself, the first project is the lower mechanical room. We started that project, it's this one here. We started that project in July of 2018. And a quick summary, I won't go into too much detail because you probably already heard it too many times. That mechanical room was past its life expectancy. So that means that your chillers, your pumps, your electrical, your boilers, all the equipment that was in that room already was beyond its life expectancy. So where we are today in that mechanical room, as you see if you walk outside, you're going to see a lot of holes outside on the mechanical room outside. And at the end of the day, you're going to see new doors, you're going to see new louvers for fans. So it's going to be a complete revitalized wall that it would have two separate rooms now. You have a mechanical room for the boiler, and you have a mechanical room for your chiller. So it brought the building all the way up to code. So currently that room, we have the housekeeping pads, which are concrete that we had to do restoration of the existing floor. The floor itself had some spalling problems where over the years, as you know, in concrete and rebar, moisture gets inside, it spalls and has to be repaired. We took the boiler, when the boiler failed, to replace the boiler, we found that your floor just beneath the boiler itself was almost non-existent. So that again was replaced, repaired, and brought up to code, and new boilers installed. Your hallway dehumidification is now back up and running. We also have a complete new electrical upgrade that's happening in that room. So we have brand new switch gear, We also have a new generator. You'll see a concrete pad outside that looks like a big box sitting on the pavement or on the parking area. That's for a new generator that you're going to have as your life safety generator. So the generator that was inside your mechanical room is no longer going to be there. That old diesel unit that you had that was making all that noise and rumbling, that's now gone. That's going to be outside in a completely weatherproof, sound acoustic enclosure on the generator. Inside the mechanical room, you're also going to have a brand new domestic booster water pump. So all your water that's going to be distributing throughout the building will be in new pumps and new systems and new controls. So everything has a backup. We all have understood what's happened to this building if we don't have backup. We have chillers when they go down, you have no cooling. When the pumps break, we don't have any backup. In the designs from day one, your board has made it very clear that redundancy in this property is the first and foremost. And in every design on the aspects of this property, of the 25 projects, there's always redundancy put in place. So you should, hopefully, never have an instance where you do not have a backup in the event of something not operating properly. The only thing we don't have a backup on is us. The efficiencies inside the mechanical room, all the equipment that has been selected is for the maximum efficiency possible for pumps, for controls. We have implemented, or the consultants as well, has implemented VFDs, which I've explained before in the past. It's allowing you to actually save energy while the machines are idling or while the machines are not at top performance. So not only saving money today, it's going to be saving you money every day that the machines are being running. The upper mechanical room is probably one room that I don't think many of the owners will actually even know that exists. But that mechanical room actually provides you all the ventilation air for all the hallways. That area upstairs, if you've known in 2018 when we did our presentation, that room was a room that was neglected more than you could imagine. Today, what you have in that mechanical room is a complete new mezzanine structure on top of the existing old air handlers that are there. And the implementation of this design was allowing us to actually put brand new equipment up on another level in that two-story clear space that allows us to implement a brand new system, have it pretty well up and running before we decommission your old system. The advantage of that is, again, we've told all the contractors, and it's in the design, that we told them that the downtime of this building has to be to the minimum. And the only way not to have this building shut down for months at a time is to actually design and have it implemented that it's a two-story system. So the new system will be up installed on a full catwalk. It'll be actually craned in place on August the 8th. So if you're here, you'll see a large crane on the south side of the property craning in those large machines through a hole in the wall, literally a hole in the wall. If you look at the top picture, you see a bunch of plywood covering an opening. That opening is wider than these columns, and they're going to be coming with a crane and bringing the two machines through those openings. So it's a feat in itself to bring the machines in one piece. As well as up on the upper mechanical room. Yes. That's up on the roof. You've probably never been up there. The majority of owners don't go up there. It's rooms that we love being in, but no one really knows that they're there. So when you feel the cold air coming into the corridor or the hot air, whichever it may be, that's from the machines that are up on top of your roof. Up on top of the roof as well, the implementation to save energy that we have up there as well, the units themselves will be able to take heat that's off your chiller and actually go into be heat reclaim and to help dehumidify the hallways. So what you're feeling in the hallway is today is generated from the chiller as well as your steam boilers. Moving forward, we're able to use your chillers to not only cool the hallway, but the refrigerant or the hot water that is going up to your cooling tower, we're diverting that to actually help you get dehumidification. So we're using one energy source to give you two advantages. Again, saving more money. The service catwalk, it's pretty well not that's going to be pertaining to most of you, but to the service, to the A&P, the staff and your maintenance staff, they'll have a service catwalk right around that piece of equipment for safety and allowing them to actually service this equipment without using any ladders. And that's the main objective, to ease the service, as well as to help the longevity of the equipment, because they're not going to cut corners because they don't have to hold a ladder with one hand and hold the tools with the other. The lower mechanical room, I just wanted to keep this slide in here for a point where the design that's been in the lower and upper mechanical room has been going on for some time, for well beyond a year. The design that was implemented or that was approved by your board and the design team at that stage, you have to realize that all that theory and all that thought that your board put together of what they saw your building to do is actually being implemented. The contractor has not swayed from the original design. There has been no extras from a point of being equipment being left out of the design because of mistakes or by inadequate review. What we need to implement is that as us as a design company as well as a project manager, the hardest part is to make sure that you get what you pay for and not have the contractor gain extra money for doing what the original design was. To date, I can say that the contractor has issued 0 change orders for any changes that were not already anticipated at the time of tender. We do have 2 changes that the city's asked for: extra doors, panic hardware, certain things that we can't avoid, but the basis of the design from day one has never changed. And that so far on that size of project, it's been very well. Everything's been going as planned and as per the design. Is everybody following me so far? And again, in the upper mechanical room, it's the same aspect. With that type of catwalk, with that much of block walls being removed and structure being removed, 0 changes. Everything is as per plan. The end result of the both mechanical systems that are being installed is a complete automated system. So no longer, if you look around, you can see some old thermostats that are hanging on the walls. The new design or the design that's currently under contract, that's all gone. It's all electronic. It's all BAS, which is all not touchscreen, but it's all computerized. So the technicians and the maintenance staff will be able to know what's happening with this building before you realize that the hallway is hot or the hallway is humid. It will give them a broadcast and let them know what's happening with the equipment before you guys even know it. Now, will they react and get it fixed in time? We're all human. Remember I said that the only thing that can be replaced is us. It's almost here. Our famous fountain. Yes, Lou. Yes. 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 We have shutdowns. We have scheduled in the original design, as I think you were involved at the beginning stages of the base of the design. For the air conditioning or the ventilation? Both, okay, because there's 2 different circuits we're dealing with. That has already been connected. We already have the flanges and the valves already there. The new equipment to be connected is connected to flanges and valves that we already installed on the last shutdown. The rough-in is already there for all the water and the steam, and as well as the cooling tower, it's already there. On the chilled water? On the fan. Yeah, we designed the whole system to have 2 shutdowns. So the system that's up in the air handler room up in the penthouse, the first shutdown that happened for the chiller room, at the same time they had another crew up inside the cooling tower room or the upper mechanical room to tie in 2 more valves for steam, 2 more valves for chilled water, and 2 valves on the cooling tower. They're already installed, flanged, waiting to reconnect. So that is a very good question, but once the air handlers get landed into its place, gets put in its place, the contractors have already have the flanges to connect to the new piece of equipment. Does not require a hydronic or water shutdown at all. Only shutdown is when we have to decommission the old air handlers. So that means that is the second shutdown that we already anticipated when I actually explained the construction methodology back in 2018. That shutdown has to happen because we have to take the old heart, take it out, and we have to reconnect the new one. That shutdown has to happen. That shutdown, we've told them per machine that we've anticipated a 4-day to 5 days per machine because we're only going to do 1 machine at a time. And that's to... As soon as the contract has the equipment pre-tested, pre-electrically started up, ready to go, because we can't take the old machine out and just hook up ductwork if the machine isn't ready to run. The majority, we have the contract for Airstron on this project as to December 31st. Airstron has a penalty that if in the event they do not finish this job by December 31st, to protect all of us as, or you as owners and the contractors, we don't want it to drag on. He will not shut down is in the event of the temperatures are still too hot. It will be coordinated. He's not in a rush to take the old units out. It's a point as we will all, sorry? That's true. Thank you, Alex. It's air side only for the hallways. It does not touch the, because I, sorry, I said hydronic, sorry. Sorry? You don't have any shutdown for that air handler section at all, at all. It's already done. Now, the only shutdown that is approved that we have for the chiller is when the chiller gets installed, which is going to happen on the 30th, next week. That the new chiller comes in. Again, we have everything roughed in for the connection, but when we put in the final new pumps, they are allowed one more shutdown. When that shutdown happens is when we tell them to. So that shutdown that's in the bottom room is a one-day shutdown. So we have to. And the point is the contractor has not only, how's the best way to explain it? The contractor is not just doing one thing at one time. We have a series of contractors which is going to be electrical, which is going to be controls, water or hydronic, and the heating. So you're going to have one day that's shut down, but you're having 4 separate trades working simultaneously, very, very well choreographed in that small mechanical room to execute 4 series of jobs of disconnecting the old electrical circuit into the new switchgear. So all that changeover has to happen simultaneously at the same time that we hook up your emergency standby generator. We cannot decommission your old generator, because it's life safety, until we have the new one sitting on that concrete pad in the driveway or in the parking area. So that has to be choreographed in a way that you have an 8-hour, 10-hour day. We have to live with that because we have no choice. We can't make 28 hours in a 24-hour day. They will not work at nights because it's not in the contract, first of all. Second of all, working at nights on electrical, it's not a good idea. So let's pick the day that is best for the trade and the best for the climate of the building. Now that we have the hallways under control with humidity and temperature control, we've done our tests, we're all within good range, the building is now under control. So everybody can calm down to a point of saying that we touch wood. We do not have a building that is virtually limping on one leg. The chiller was completely cleaned. It was they did a great job in 18 hours or 16 hours. We've asked them to do miracles on it, and they did. The chiller is running perfect. It's an older chiller, but it's working. So let's just be easy with the contractors. We've been pushing them very hard, and they've been doing very well so far. And does that answer your question? Thank you. We'll get back to our fountain. Any other questions for the mechanical rooms? Sorry. Sorry.
On the mechanical?
Phil Donahue?
I just wanted to ask, last Hurricane Irma came through
Yes.
and they closed down things. Is this hurricane proof so we could actually have utilities during the storm, or do you have to shut things down again?
Shut things down?
We had air conditioning shut down, turned off, turned
Correct.
off.
And yeah, anything under a contract-wise, the contractor is not responsible to, shall we say, make the property hurricane-proof. It's up to the property management. So in the event of a hurricane, whatever your procedures and methodologies were then, they'll be executed that way. We cannot leave the building without an emergency generator, new or old. That's why that shutdown of the conversion between the old to the new has to only happen in one day. The generator, even under hurricane, the generator is life safety. Your generator, you do not kill your generator, sorry, you do not turn off your generator systems. Your basic life safety in the building will be emergency lights, emergency exits, sprinklers,
One elevator.
one elevator, the basics of life safety that was in your building. Air conditioning is not life safety. As much as it's comfort, it's not life safety. As much as we feel it to be.
These systems cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. To leave them on for a hurricane for 24 hours that we shut down, it's best we do. The pumps run dry, the fans stop working, and you burn out your whole system in the cooling tower.
It's, even though it's a discomfort for the owners and for everybody that is there. The only way we can build that in is if we take this building and move it north. We can do that if you want. No. Well,
No. The equipment is designed and installed to resist a hurricane, but not to function during a hurricane. That's the difference.
No, we never turn off power. We don't never, ever turn off power. Yeah. Oh, AC. Power always stays on, unless the whole city goes black, you know.
that you can't control. You're welcome. Okay. And if we go through to our fountain that we currently have. The fountain, when we started with the fountain in 2018, the fountain itself was a nice collected pond that was collecting storm water from your canopy at the front, but we revitalized the fountain completely, new pumps, cleaned up all the piping. We haven't completed 100% of the fountain as of yet. We have bubblers. If you look at the bottom of the presentation for 219, we have a bubbler that is ordered and it should be delivered next week, or the end of the week. We're having it for the end of the month per se as the bubbler. There's currently in the design, there's going to be 2 of the bubbler features that are on the lower area of the fountain and 2 for the top. So that in itself would be a water feature. That is what you never had or you did not have currently with the fountain itself. So the fountain turned out to be something that is very nice to look at. It's on the bottom of the bubbler itself is actually just a water jet that introduces air. And if you just look up at our other property that we work at, the Diplomat, not the Diplomat, the just up the street here. The Hemisphere, sorry. Hemisphere and the Wave, but the Hemisphere itself. The Hemisphere, that's a typical 2-foot bubbler. And that's what you're going to have here. Sorry? For the upper level, yes. Yes. No jets. We had to, the selection of the bubblers was quite detailed to a point that you have to look at wind speed, you have to look at the environment that it's in. You want to make sure you do not have any type of overspray out into the greenery or any type of your grass or any type of your plants, because it will, because the fountain is chemically treated, you would kill all the vegetation in the area. So the selection of the bubbler was really a point where you have to find something that is as big as you can get, but small enough that you're not going to damage everything around. And if it's too large and the wind comes up, everybody walking at the front of the building is going to get wet. And then you're going to yell at him. Yell at you. Yeah, the bubbler will be the biggest thing we can get in there. And next, we'll just give a quick summary of our canopy and the sales, the bikini sales that we have. That has gone through probably one of the biggest transformations structurally. The previous one that was there was affixed to your canopy or to your structure itself, but actually was not integrally strong enough to hold. So the new design with the structural engineer, we actually sandwiched the actual structure through the slab. So if you looked on the underside in the garage area, there's actually steel plates that they actually mounted a full steel plate, full through bolts from the top to the bottom under the top coat. So that canopy, if you guys want to use it as any type of dancing poles, you'll never bend it. So any type of hurricane, it's good to know. Portico, yes. We did 13 or 11 of them now, and I know that the rest of the glass, or rest of the plexiglass itself is starting to go. So that is in its works of a design to replace those, but temporarily we put plywood and water and mastic that. But as they leak, we'll keep replacing, or keep covering them. So again, within the canopy and the bikini sails is pretty well self-explanatory. The whole criteria was to replace it with an intrinsically safe system that will withstand the weather, withstand the wind, and structurally be sound that will not be kiltered over. And what the final end-up result is what you see, and you'll be happy with it for years to come. Next is going to be our laundry room. The laundry room has been probably one that's been on the back of your mind for a long time. It's gone through quite a few changes. Now we can say that the laundry room has finally been passed by all the inspectors. The special inspections have been passed. So that laundry room is now completely to code, new equipment, lighting that'll turn on as you walk in the door, the exhaust fan that'll walk in as motion sensor as well. So trying to save as much of your energy as possible, at the same time giving you a safe environment to work in. Yes.
Leo, you need the mic so they can hear you. Hold on, coming around. There you go.
It's on 16th floor, and I've been told that it's also happening most of the floors. When you walk to the trash room, the light goes on. You're not even walking. In other words, the sensor sensing too far. And it goes on every time I put the trash on, the light goes on.
Okay.
Can that be adjusted?
Definitely.
That, I don't know if they can. If they close, it won't go on.
It won't go on. That's the idea of having the doors. The doors have to close. That's what we have to check on it.
If not, as well as on that, Al, we've actually, on those sensors, there's an actual there's a screw for sensitivity. So thank you for letting us know which floor it's at, and we'll talk it with Al to get this.
16.
If it is, it's a point where.
16, 15th floor. Write this down.
But it's easy enough for adjustments. It's not a point that it's fixed, it's adjustable. And thank you for bringing it up, and we'll make sure that, yep, definitely. Thank you. Any other questions regarding the laundry rooms? Shelving? One hook? That will leave for you to talk to Al. It wasn't on the scope. Sorry, the microphone?
It's the laundry room and I guess the trash room and in general signage in the building, I feel should be multilingual. Everything is in English now. And I've met many people in the building who don't speak English, whether it's Spanish, whether it's Russian. I think like as far as rules in the laundry room, rules in the trash room, even by the barbecue corner we have there, I noticed they were working on it yesterday and the rules were put up. And it's only in English. So I think all signage should be multilingual. That's what I wanted to suggest.
We can say that the projects that we are currently working on, that is to be revitalizing into beautification of your hallways in the future, that it's actually coming up very shortly. The next presentation is going to be talking about that. And once we hook up, or once we complete with the basis of design and the beautification of the hallway, and that's obviously a topic that the board can talk about, of any types of signs that are in for the property itself. Currently, that's not been in a design, like we're not at that stage of the design. We're here trying to make the building safe first, and then the beautification is coming 21, 22. Thank you. A microphone?
Who's there? Teresa, hold on.
I would like to see the door automatically open where they deliver stuff. Saturday, all day Saturday, that door was open. I closed it 2 times. The girl must have went to the bathroom and she left one of the fellas here. I asked him to go close the door. He said he's not allowed to move there, not allowed to move from the office. And I had to try and close that door, and I can't reach sometimes to those things. Why can't we have a door like you put downstairs over there? That's the most important
That's
one.
not part of their project, the way you make us.
Oh, well,
Thank you.
I mean, they put the other doors in, right?
No, it was a company we hired, but we will consider it. I know what you're saying, up here and receiving, thank you.
This would just prove that he's doing work behind my back.
Sorry, Joe.
It's true.
Can't
being
you let
eliminated.
you have all the fun, you know?
Oh, come on. Any other questions regarding the laundry rooms? Very good comment, thank you. Mhm. Correct. The laundry rooms, through the design of the exhaust fan and the amount of CFM, that'll be cubic feet per minute that exhausts out of the room, that's a calculation on the sum of all the exhaust fans for the building towards how much air is coming in from the makeup airs or your ventilation of the hallways. So it's a calculation that we can't just pick, or the engineer that did the job could not just pick what he wanted. It had to be limited to what we were providing that room, providing as the flow through. There's a transfer at the top, and then there's pressurization. Yes. It's even that 1-inch gap is calculated. Yeah. Thank you. Next one that we have is that we're going to start to talk about is going to be the stormwater management project. The stormwater management project is one that we started doing the review, and it's been an ongoing problem from the city that has imposed a fine on this property, that there was a complaint that it's unsafe and it poses as a health or a safety hazards out to the ocean. For all the reviews that we did with the city, with Corrine, the city inspector, and the city documents, we can't find that it is a health or a safety concern of whoever did that complaint. But at the same time, it now is a complaint on the property, and the property is paying for the violation, or we're trying to mitigate the violation. In doing so, the civil engineer was hired, it's Ross Engineering that was hired to do a design to put in a self-contained well system. So what the bylaw states and the zoning states is that if the water that is emitted from this property must contain on this property. So that means that whatever water, rain, goes on the roof, goes on the front parking lot, goes at the back pool area, the pool deck, we have to actually contain that within our property via wells, drilling wells, putting containment, putting some French drains, whatever is needed possible to contain all this water on this property. The downside of that is the property, or Parker Dorado years ago, and still out to Alex did even years back, has been fighting trying to get a clear understanding from the city and all the authorities having jurisdiction to get a clear understanding, what do you need and what would they be happy with? An extensive design and review was put together through Ross Engineering and our office as well. We came up with a design. We are currently right now went out for bid. The low bid contractor, which was approved, was Core. In that design is to install where you currently have your car wash area. You're going to install wells and concrete containment bins there that'll be recessed in the ground, and they're actually going to be sitting above the ground, probably 3 to 4 feet above the ground for these well heads. So all the water and all the piping that is suspended within the garage below will be rerouted, reworked with new pumps. So all your current lift pumps or your storm water pumps that are currently on the property are being replaced with, again, a duplex, which would give you, again, the redundancy. So whatever happens, we're going to try and minimize and eliminate all your garage flooding every time you have rain. The documents and the permit drawings are at the city. They are going to go through probably 3 to 4 levels of government before we get approvals. We have visited the magistrate through a meeting with Al, myself, and your attorney, and they've imposed, they said they had to see direction and have to see action in 60 days. We came back to them and said, your own municipality has given us a timeline of no sooner than 120 days for them to review our documents. So one hand is trying to tell you that we're going to impose a fine in 60 days. The other hand is saying that we can't even look at you for 120 before we start. So we've been fighting back and forth. We've executed everything the board can at this time by the documents, engineers, stamps, surveys. We wanted updated surveys. You've paid for updated surveys. We've provided the municipality everything they need, every tool we can provide. The contractors are, as was awarded, all as we can do when we sit at the magistrate in October, I think it's October we're going back, is to let them know that we're still sitting pretty and waiting for them to make a decision what to do. And keep in mind, everyone, that even though that we've executed everything in the engineering technical ability, they may come back and ask us to change things. Because again, they do not have a clear understanding of how we're going to capture and hold and retain all this water on this property. One comment we had on a conference call Friday. On Friday with the engineers, one of the reviewers made a comment that they want us to have a retention pond on this property. You have no grassed area other than the front. So how can we do a retention pond? So they don't even grasp, they can't even fathom what your property is after they have our drawings. That's what we're dealing with. So you have to bear with us. The best thing I could advise everybody in this property is to keep in mind that the more you go talk to the city to do a complaint or a concern, it's not helping you. Only thing that's going to help you is to share your information with Al, share your information with us. We're all working for the same goal. The more complaints go to the city to impose fines, the more you're paying for us. And it's not that I don't want to do it, but at the same time, I'm fighting the city for you against you. So let's help ourselves, deal with ourselves, to ourselves, and we won't have all these fines that we're trying to put, that Al is there every 3 months fighting to mitigate the costs. I know I got a little sidetracked on that one, but the storm is going to be a tough one that we have to deal with. It might not be resolved until the end of next year. Yes? Al, microphone? In front.
There, Joe.
How many wells you go to put there? How many wells you go to put there?
Right now, the engineers proposed 2.
2. Now, it's going down under the coral.
Under, sorry?
The coral.
The column? Oh, definitely.
What? How many feet? 100?
100 feet? The design is probably going to hit you probably around 60 feet.
60 feet.
That's it.
Now, you said you have to put the wall around to retain the surplus of the water.
No, there's if you look at do you have that one?
I can see it.
The top corner, it'll show that it's just a concrete, it's called the wellhead. And the wellheads,
I'm seeing it.
so as the surge comes from your roof, as the water comes down, the NPSH, or sorry, the actual water, as it comes down, forces water pressure to come back up. We have to put a vent, and not we, but the design is for a vent and a cap on top, or else if you've ever poured water down a pipe and it's open on the other end, you're going to have a bubbler.
Okay, you go to condemn the actually pumps.
Sorry?
The actually pumps, you go to condemn them. The pumps we have now.
They're all being replaced.
You all replace them?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I worked in that many years ago, not many years,
Yes.
4 or 5 years. How come they refuse us to go back in the ocean?
How come this?
What's the excuse? Because, I got a fight with the building permit, I'm familiar with that. Why they don't want us to go back in the original, the grandfather system?
There is no grandfather because there's no permit here for ever putting it there. There has never been a permit on this property.
It's a 40 year, is that?
It has never, this is the argument we've been going through.
Yeah.
We know that it is there.
Yeah.
If you can provide a document that has a permit from the day it was installed.
No, it's impossible.
Exactly, and that's where we are.
6 years ago, we tried to go back there, and
Thank you.
And good luck with the building permit.
That water always went out into the ocean.
You're not the only property that has this problem. Oh, yes, and many more are going north. But at the point, the best we can do is bring it to a certain level. If we have exhausted all our efforts technically, through technology, through engineering, if we prove a point, then we have to best to suit us is to have the municipality come back with the questions to us. If they're going to tell us, as an example, they can turn to us and say they want a berm around your property. If we want a berm around our property, the best we can do for them is saying it's technically impossible. Ocean Drive, we cannot build a 3-foot berm at the front of our building to capture our water on your property. You've already been through this. Yes. Yeah.
Hi,
Sorry.
it's okay. Hey, the water that we're gonna collect, what's gonna happen to it? Can we reuse it as,
No.
why?
It's a mixture of not only rainwater from the roof, it's rainwater from the parking area.
Oh, I don't mean to eat it or drink it. I mean, why can't we reuse it to water the plants? You know, like rainwater, when you collect rainwater, we reuse it like for flushing toilets, et cetera.
For anyone that is mixed with automotive, which is your parking area, by the time you put a filtration system with the municipality actually asked for filtration system, we all can't afford, not me, sorry, you as an owner, you can't afford the filtration system to try and do that.
It'll wind up in the aquifer anyway, I think.
It's all going down there
right?
anyway.
But it'll be good in the.
We
at
did
the
look
end.
at any type of reusing, filtering, separating the storm from the roof. If we have to redirect that, the cost of redirecting stormwater from the roof would be exorbitant. And where do you stand it? You have to store it somewhere. No. Thank you. Any other questions regarding the storm? Sorry. Al?
Hold on, Rita, I'm coming for you.
Hi, and what's gonna be with the place where we're washing the cars? Are we gonna be moved, or that's gonna be where it is right now?
The location of the
Right,
car
okay,
wash,
right.
in the contract, it has for the contractor to relocate it to a location that we pick.
So
Right
where-
now, once they excavate and put that tank in the ground and physically where we need for serviceability, then we dictate where we could move it. We are not eliminating it. Currently, it's a point is we don't know exactly how it could fit until we finish the actual excavation and the placement of the wells.
Okay,
We can't tell you all the answers in the global ball. We have to wait for certain things to happen. The city itself is going to tell us, and please don't nail me to the wall by saying this is the final design. I can guarantee you there's going to be changes to this design because the city has no understanding of what actually they want.
are we gonna lose parking? Are we gonna lose parking because of this project?
As per the current design, no. We made sure that it fit without losing any parking spots.
By the car wash, so it's.
The car wash might not be north, or might not be east-west, it might be north-south. We don't know as of yet, so please bear with us until we can flip the coin. Any other questions regarding the storm? Taking a little more time than I thought, guys. Should be coming up pretty quick. The turtle lights. We're going to have a lot of lights for sale, so if someone wants some lights, we can probably sell it back to you pretty cheap somewhere. The new contract, the design was put out by Puga and Associates. The turtle lights, again, we have resolved the problem and made the city happy and made all the shall we say, the compliance come into play. We still have one complaint we have to deal with, which is going to be our neighbor that had what do they call it? An offensive lighting concern, offensive, we couldn't, I know what it looks like, we have pictures of it.
you see the red spot?
Oh, by all means. Yeah?
It's incredible. Like, I wish.
Wow. That's impressive. Wow. Okay. So within the, so the Turtle Light project itself, the new lights have already been ordered. The electrical reworking, so within the design, I'll make this pretty easy. Within the design currently, you'll notice in the last couple of weeks that the actual pool area lights have been turning on and off by themselves. We actually separated the circuitry in that to allow you to have peace and quiet at night, that the lights turn off at night. So currently the timer is between 7 p.m. to turn it on and midnight to turn it off. We're working that through to find out what is best for all the owners of what timing you want. And you have the ability to change the time as you see, but electrically we've separated the circuit. So the parking area will be lit up as per the code and the pool area will be shut down as your convenience. The lighting itself, the light heads will look similar to what you already have, but there will be it'll be an amber light. And the amber light is what you required from the beginning, and you have that now. Not. Yes. Yes. The fine, right now, Al will have to, after this is completed and signed off, we have to go back to the magistrate and negotiate it again. Correct.
They approved it and they disapproved it.
Yes.
Joe, you got to move on. We're running out of time.
The next one I have is where I'm going to change it instead of the slide of the hallway revitalization, because as soon as we're finished with the hallway revitalization, we also have some other gentlemen for wanted to make the presentation. We're just going to talk about the elevators. I did not do a slide presentation for the elevators because all as you would see was your elevators. So you can go look at them if you wish, but the elevator contract is completely executed. Everything is in motion. The elevators will be replaced one at a time. Each duration of each elevator will be decommissioned and being revitalized 4 months at a time. It'll take 4 months for one elevator. How long does your hair grow? To replace all the components inside. They're not. It's not, if it's a new elevator, if it is a new elevator would be installed a lot quicker than a revitalizing and remodernization of an existing. Everything has to be installed, everything has to be installed in every section of that elevator that has to be installed. There's integrated inspections all the way through. I've been through a lot of elevator modernization, and I could honestly tell you that 4 months is not a long time. With the amount of work that they have to do, and every piece is almost like a jigsaw puzzle. So we have elected, at the moment, we were originally looking for elevator 3 to commence, but we have a choice of either picking whichever elevator we want, but we have to really watch which elevator we select and coordinate it with the hallway revitalization, because if we decommission an elevator that they might be doing mold or asbestos abatement, we cannot have more than one elevator decommissioned at a time or blocked off. So it's a coordination effort. It's a it's a fight we're going to have with the contractors to make sure that you have active elevators. So again, 4 months per elevator. As soon as one is completed, commissioned, and approved, then the next elevator will be worked on. So they will never be worked on 2 at the same time. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. A remodernization of an elevator is anywhere between 40 to 50% of the cost of a new. Now, only thing you got left is on, like the presentation I gave 5-6 months ago was what components are being replaced in the elevator. It's not a full replacement, so a lot of items are going to be reworked. We have an allowance for the cab. We have not picked or made the decision to utilize that allowance or not, but still there's an allowance in the contract that is already secured that if there is any changes, we can dictate that at that time. You're going to a complete gearless system, so it's virtually completely automated now. Your system, everything up in that mechanical room, again, we love mechanical rooms. Everything in that room is changed. Any other questions regarding the elevators? Oh, very good. We're going to get into the hallway revitalization, and then I'm going to try and make this one quick because we have the other presentation to have as well. The hallway revitalization and the riser project has now merged into one project because we cannot separate the two because they're two directly related, where if we're going to be taking drywall and board off your walls in the hallway and we expose our chilled water lines that have to be re-insulated. So the board made a decision to merge the two, which was a great idea. And we're going to be starting on removing and doing the work on the 17th floor and working our way down. And doing it that way, we have put an RFP or a proposal together for the contractors. And in the sequence of events, we've actually hit the contractors pretty hard to commit to a time frame per floor of 1 month per floor. So in 1 month, you'll have the complete floor, including some certain suites or owners' units that will be affected. They would be finished within that 1 month frame. I'm not going to get too much in detail because we're going to let the contractor explain his methodology and everything to bring you up to speed on that. In the riser project, we have to bring the building up to code. And if you recall some of the instances that we've had with riser 4 and 7 to fire stop and put the proper insulation, we had a mishap with the contractor not installing the insulation in a right way. So as humidity and moisture starts, moisture drips down, they ended up putting insulation from the bottom and worked their way up. Problem is that the insulation they just completed was already saturated with water. So that's why that whole exercise was a taunting task for everybody. The methodology in this project is obviously starting from the top and working your way down the right way. So the project in itself is quite in depth. The contractors will explain to you what they have as a methodology, and then we'll leave after their presentation wise, then we'll be able to do a question and answer for them because this is one, like Al said, one project that is going to affect 99% of the owners on this property. Is there any questions on the overall projects other than the hallway and the riser? Al, at the back? Hopefully I grabbed all the projects.
Hi, can you circle back to the turtle lights?
Yes.
Maybe you can give like a clear explanation. Years ago when can everyone hear me? Yes? Years ago when they were installed, we were told you have to go with the red lights, blah, 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 that's the new rule. New buildings are going up, old buildings are being redone. We are the only one in Miami with the stupid red lights. Can you explain why we're still going to be stuck with them even after they're being changed? We're not. Did I miss something?
You have an amber light, not a red.
So we're done with the red.
You're done with the red.
Okay, yay.
We're trying to sell them, and so far we have no offers.
We're giving them away cheap.
The lighting project will be completed by the 15th of August. The lights are ready. We're ready to get, it's going to be short. It's going to be soon. We're just waiting again for the city, but at the same time, the contractor's ready. Sir? Al?
Al, Mike, please. Yes, about a year ago, there was an estimate sent for the lighting that it was $34,000 while I did my research. And I'm trying to understand how come a project that the estimate was about $34,000, it went up to like $130,000, which is the cost of replacing the lights, which is about 3 times, 4 times more.
Agree, it's more than 3 or 4 times more.
Yeah,
Where did you get that?
It was estimate that it was sent here to Al about a year ago from Lighting of Tomorrow, and it's the estimate to replace about 71 LEDs is very complete. The estimate was $34,495.
And that would to be replaced. I'm not aware of that estimate, nor was it an engineered design. But at the same time, if they're on that document, and again, I don't want to elaborate on something in the past that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
But if they had an estimate that they were changing the LEDs within the current light heads, That wouldn't pass code currently because the light array and the light photometrics that were on this current property, where they put the light poles and where the current areas are covered, it never passed code.
Well,
So
there
if
were-
somebody paid $34,000, if you would have went ahead with that, you would be doing this for 3 times now.
They plan to change pretty much all the lights, 11, 50, another 50. Yeah, that's all work and it meets the National Electric Standard. So
Yeah,
it's just my curiosity, how come it went from 35 to
When we came aboard at the beginning of 2018, we looked at 3 options on the lights to see if we're able to have the manufacturers actually replace the LEDs, replace the actual ballast, not the ballast, but the actual controllers. We exercised we investigated every option to reuse what is here, but when the photometrics were taken on the property, the photometrics, even if we changed the element or the LEDs in the heads, you would not comply to code. So that when it went for permit again, it would not have been accepted.
Oh, okay.
So even though that somebody wants to change a spark plug in your engine and you have a bad piston, you still have a bad piston, you have a bad engine. I can't elaborate on that because I'm unaware of why they would say that.
Okay.
The bids that did come through as the complete engineered solution, that is to separate the systems, to put it on a timer system to separate your parking from the pool, to have the lighting where you're going to have sconces on top of from the concrete where the back railing is to the podiums and the bollards. The design is a full system design more than just a Band-Aid repair. So we have an offensive lighting problem that we're dealing with your property of the north. So we're not only dealing with a red light issue, we're dealing with occupants next door. Sorry. Yes.
What is amber exactly? I'm sorry, about the amber color of the lights. Is it going to be now the yellow building? How is it?
It's
No. Okay, so it's the same. It's like a natural color.
If you go back to this one here. If you look at where it says AM amber on the slide on the TV, that is the amber.
What is that?
AM
Yellow?
amber, that's the amber that's approved. Or that's the amber that is what's acceptable for turtles. Yes, it was, but you have to remember, and that's a very good point, Alex. This one here was approved by the city. You had permits. For whatever reason, during that execution of the contract, the quantity of lights and the actual element that was, or the lighting heads that were delivered were not as per your drawings. So there was other issues that you had that did not get executed as per the contract,
I mean,
for whichever reason.
Is it possible to see a sample before instead of, but because we're looking at it, just a yellow color there, all over the beach, and this quantity. Okay. Okay.
I just want to elaborate a little bit on the lighting. The environmental agencies list 3 different colors of lights. And the red one, believe it or not, is one of them. It is legal.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because it has to have a certain wavelength that the turtles cannot see. And that red, believe it or not, falls within that wavelength. The fact that we're changing is not, the change of color is not because of a legal issue. The problem that we have on the property is that there was way too much lighting, there's way too much spillage, and the turtles can see it out at sea. I laugh all you want, but that's the law. So, and on top of all that, we have lighting that's being offensive and spilling over onto our neighbors. So it's not a color issue, that is personal. I completely disagree with the color that we do have. I would have never chosen the red. But it's not a legal issue. It could remain. The fact that we have to reduce the amount of lighting, reduce the amount of spillage, and reduce the amount of offense forces us to have to change the type of lighting that we do have. And by doing so, we're going to the amber, which most normal human beings on the strip have.
Thank you. It's the location of the current ones are in the wrong location, so you don't get the coverage.
I have a question to ask.
Yes.
Since we're doing so much major renovation and we're changing upper mechanical and lower mechanical, how it will affect passing 40 years electrical inspection? Because I know the building never passed the electrical certification.
That's a
Will
very
it-
good question. You've already, because the electrical engineer that is the engineer of record of the upper and lower mechanical room is the same engineer that we retained as your 40-year inspection. The building itself, they've made successions for the mechanical rooms, knowing that they're all new, so you've passed it automatically, that part. So that's not an issue. The only part that is the 40-year inspection that has to still undergo is a project that we have of updating every unit with just labeling in some electrical panels. If you remember, an electrical engineer went through and checked. He didn't finish. He did the inspection. Now we have to actually execute. He wants labels on the panels. Yeah, it will. You're very fortunate. Your 40-year re-inspection or your 40-year inspection on this property was actually very successful. Small contract cost that it'll have for the contractor to clean up common areas. We have some conduits that are deteriorated. Over 40 years, you'll get that. So the 40 years, that of our list of 1 to 24, I would put that as a very low 24. It's being done, but it's nothing to worry about. Always.
Do you have any design for the always?
Sorry?
Do you have any designs of the always?
Not as of yet.
Not yet?
We are going through, currently for the hallway project, or revitalization is what we're dealing with CORE and ABC. The actual beautification, which is your final aesthetics that you're going to be looking at, the beautiful things. Right now, we make things dirty and we clean it up, but we don't make it sexy. We won't make it look nice. That's the next phase that we're looking at. And then we are actually, I think you're already starting to interview some designers. So that is in its natural progression. We cannot start doing any beautification to the hallway until these guys get their rear ends done and out the door. And again, the intent that the board has put forward is you're starting on the 17th floor. As the 17th is completed, you're down to the 16th. If everything goes as planned, we go ahead and start the beautification right after 17's finished, and it's sequential all the way. As they walk out the door, we kick them out the door and you're done.
Okay, just one more question, please, because we got to move on. We have our other presenter here that needs to present the other project.
Any other questions? Hopefully I grabbed all the projects. Sorry.
No, we'll have the representation.
This is all
and
the
then
same, the
after-
risers and that, I'm still here. We'll still answer questions at the same time.
So I would ask you please to all, hold on to your questions till they've completed their presentation, because you really need to understand this and take the time to see what they're talking about, okay? Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Gus.
Thank you. So I'd like to all hand over to the CORE and ABC, and they'll be able to do an introduction, and then I'll hand over to them to explain the most complex project that you have on their property, and please pay attention, and your input is greatly appreciated.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. My name is Rudy Diaz. I'm with Core Restoration. These are my partners, Ryan Perez and George Gonzalez from ABC Construction. We're currently bidding on the chilled water installation and fire stopping replacement, along with the asbestos abatement and mold remediation. So I'm going to try to explain to you how we intend on performing this project, and then we'll open the job up for questions. So, as I said initially, my project team consists of, next slide, it's going to be Core Restoration, ABC Construction. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be handling all of the project management, coordinating with all the subcontractors. We're going to be performing the demolition, and we're going to be performing the restoration of all the hallways and putting the units back to the way they were. Our subcontractor, Airstron, which is our mechanical subcontractor, is going to be responsible for replacing all of the chiller valves on the 17th floor and on the lobby level, along with the insulation installation and the fire stopping. AES Incorporated is our asbestos abatement contractor, which is going to be responsible for removing all of the asbestos and also remediating all the mold. So basically, the sequencing to perform and complete this project is going to consist of 5 steps. Those steps are going to be the pre-planning phase, where we are going to be doing all of our research as far as locating all of the risers that need to be addressed, along with what units are going to be affected and what finishes need to be replaced. That'll be the first phase. That's before we begin to even do any of the construction or demolition. The next phase will be the demolition. The third phase will be the asbestos abatement. The fourth phase will be the mechanical work. And the fifth phase will be building back all of the finishes on the walls and the interiors. So what you see now is a form that we're going to use when we do the first part of the project. And what that form consists is of, we're going to go to each one of the units that are affected. Now, which units, you may ask yourself, are affected? Let me show you here on a board that I have. So it's hard to see, but you can see that your building, pretty much the configuration is a Y. We consist of 3 wings. You have 27 risers, 2 of which have been already addressed. We've identified which units are affected by the risers that need to be addressed now. This is the list. We're going to leave these boards here for you later to examine. So the units that are going to be affected will be either Unit 1, Unit 2 or 3, Unit 5, Unit 6, Unit 8, Unit 9, Unit 10, Unit 11, Unit 12, Unit 14 or 15, Unit 16, Unit 19, and Unit 20. On every floor. Now, let me explain before we get into questions. The reason why these units are affected is because we cannot open up the wall from the hallway and have access to remove the existing insulation and add the new insulation and fire stopping. So in order to do that, we need to go inside the unit. Now, we anticipate that most of the work inside the units will be simply opening up the sheetrock, exposing the riser pipes. Once the work is performed, then we'll put back the sheetrock and then we'll paint it. Now, there may be some instances where some of the units, we may need to remove tile, we may need to move a cabinet, we may need to remove a tub. So that gets a little bit more complicated. So since the intent is to be completed with an entire floor in 1 month and not affect a unit owner more than 2 weeks, we want to do our pre-planning. So we want to do all of that, know what needs to be taken off, know what needs to be put back. If in the case of a tile, if we need to replace a tile, we want to select that tile and have it approved by the unit owner and the association, have it on site, so the day that we decide to go ahead and start opening up these walls or opening up, removing tile or moving cabinets or moving bathrooms or tubs, we already know what we're going to put back. And that way we don't delay the project. So it's very important that we do this pre-planning and we get everything approved before we even touch anything. So that's the first phase. So we have this form, we'll go through all of that, we'll get the materials, we'll have it on site, we'll get everything approved. So then the next step, you ask yourself, what is that? Well, we'll go in now after that and we're going to demolish everything that is non-contaminated. In other words, everything that does not have mold, everything that does not have asbestos. And the reason we want to do that is to get a jump and move quicker, because when we do the asbestos abatement, which I'll go into a little bit more detail, which is the next step, nobody can be in that area where the asbestos is being abated because it is a life safety health hazard. So we go in, We identified already the locations with our pre-existing survey and our pre-study. We open up those locations in the hallway where we need access to the risers, and we remove any areas that do not have mold. We also do the same thing inside the units. So all that's out of the way. Then the next step is we turn it over to the asbestos abatement contractor. So what does he do? He goes in and he secures that area. They have to go in with respirators, with masks. Nobody can be there. Nobody can be in their unit because it's a health hazard. So how are we going to do this to inconvenience the owners the least amount possible? We'll do is we'll select a date. That day, the unit owners have to leave. We'll select a time, say 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They leave their unit. The abatement contractor will begin sealing off the area. We'll start removing all the asbestos. He'll have a laboratory on site where he can take the samples, bring them down, get them tested, and make sure that everything is done correctly. Once that's done, he'll turn everything over back to us so that the unit owners can come back to their units by, let's say, 8 o'clock at night. The whole idea is to inconvenience them as little as possible, and so that they do not have to stay in a hotel or make other arrangements. So we're going to accomplish that by having that laboratory on site and by doing this wing per wing. So each wing is going to take 1 day. You have 3 wings on a floor. Now, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind, can you show them the elevator lobby? This other board here shows you your elevator lobby. So when we do a wing, since you have 3 wings, we're always going to leave an elevator open so that the unit owners can access the other 2 wings. So you can go up and down. So then when we do, for example, this wing, we might close off this area here. So this elevator will only be used by the workers. We'll do all the work we need to do there, and then we'll do the same thing when we come and do these other wings. We'll do this one. When we do this one, we can probably close off this elevator. But you'll always have elevators so you have access to your unit, which is not being affected by the asbestos abatement. So that's the third step. So now we have done all the demolition. We've opened everything up. We've removed all of the asbestos. We've removed all the mold. Now the floor is safe. So step number 4, mechanical contractor comes in. Now in the case of the 17th and lobby floors, they will replace the chiller valves, and that will happen in 1 day, followed by the installation of the new insulation around the chiller pipe, which is the problem that you had before, that you had the pipes were leaking, and that created your mold in the first place. And that will be followed by the fire stopping. So all this is going to happen. As I said before, the idea is to have everything done and off that floor within 30 days. I have a poster board here which shows you my schedule. I'll leave it here so you can see it. But basically, it breaks down each floor, and as you can see, it's 1 month per floor. That's our intent. If we follow this plan, we should be able to accomplish that without any delays. So the final step, just going back to what I was saying about the insulation, on floors 16 through 2, there are no valves to replace, so the only thing you're doing is you're replacing the insulation and doing the new fire stopping. So step 5, the final step, which is what we're going to be doing personally, is we're going to be putting back all the sheetrock, all the framing. We're going to put any insulation in the walls that need to be put back, and we're going to paint those areas. We're not going to do anything else because, as I've been told, you're going to renovate your hallways. In the case of the interior of the units, it's very important that we work with the unit owners and we get all the information before we go inside the units. As I explained previously, we want to have the materials on site, and we want to know what we're going to be doing before we go inside that unit and we open up a wall. Now, you may have seen that some of the units, I think there's 2 cases where I said we might do 2 or 3, and then I think in another case we said unit 14 or 15. The reason for that is that the riser runs in the wall, between the two units. So if on one unit, I have a cabinet, and on the other unit, I have sheetrock, then I'll go to the unit that has sheetrock because I can remove the sheetrock, it'll be faster. I'll access the riser, perform all the mechanical work, put that sheetrock back and paint it instead of having to take the cabinet out, which involves more time. And like I said, the intent is to inconvenience the unit owner as little as possible. And finally, the final process will be to clean everything up and demobilize. So we'll start on the 17th floor, work our way down. When we get to the lobby, we'll do these 3 wings, and maybe some of the, we do not have to remove the entire ceiling of the lobby, only in each of the corridors. That's pretty much the gist of it. I think at this time, in case anybody would like to add anything else, we can open it up for questioning.
Thank you. Hello, I have a question. We just recently, maybe a few months ago, finished the, what's that?
I'm sorry.
We just finished the remodeling in our apartment.
Uh-huh.
It's 19, unit 19, and everything was, all the risers have been insulated by code with a permit from city. Do you have any possibility to use microscope or something just to make sure that it does not require opening those places again?
And that's a good question. The one, we talked about this in our last meeting as well, that you made a comment that you did you repaired and redid it all. And that point, I made a comment that, can you verify that if there was fire stopping at the slab, at your floor? And I don't know if you can. That's the problem. So we would still have to expose to see if it is fire stopped, unless you have on a permit.
We do have a permit, and
if
everything is
because
here. We still
if-
have all the documents.
If you can provide the documents, we could review that with the architect of record to see if that is
Okay.
complying to the current design
Yeah.
and with the fire stopping
And
as well.
thank
That's
you.
the only
And-
way, because the point is
Do you have any dates?
we have no dates as of yet until we have expected dates that we would like it to happen, but there still is a contract to be agreed upon. There's still some documentation, and then the scheduling starts from there. The scheduling, and as Ryan said, and as the team said, there's a lot of coordination that has to happen before we all will allow them to come in here with a hammer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the lady had a question. I wasn't able. Microphone.
One at a time. On the outer and the hallways. Do you have to go into the bathrooms also?
Not necessarily. The reason, before we even open anything up, we have a pre-existing survey. What does that mean? That means, first we identify the location of where the risers are. So in many cases, those risers have to be accessed from the inside of the units. So in the case of an interior of a unit, we'll go in and see where that riser is. It may not have to remove a bathroom. It may be in a closet. So if it's in a closet, we just take the sheetrock off, we do the work, put the sheetrock back. But yes, we can when we take the board down, but we need to see where it is inside the unit. I know where it is on the drawing. I need to go inside the unit and see what's there. Once I go into the unit, then I'll see, well, wait a second, that riser is located in a bathroom, or maybe the riser is located in a kitchen. Then I can determine if it's just the wall, or if it's a cabinet, or if it's a bathtub that needs to be moved. That's why it's so important to do this research before we start any demolition.
So just to answer your question there, it's a good question, is as soon as the contractor identifies on that sheet of exactly where everything is, the drawings are to the best of the ability of the architect to make it as accurate as possible. Many renovations happen within units that maybe the original design never had, or the original drawings never had. So with the team doing that survey and signing everything off of what is there, they have to come to us and saying, this is the wall I want to take down because it's the least amount of disruption to the owner, the least amount of disruption to the unit itself, we will always make the final decision. They will not just go in saying, well, you have a kitchen, I'm going to rip your kitchen out. No. The whole objective is they are very, I'm not going to say I'm going to stronghold you guys, but at the same time, it's a point where it's a team. We're here to do it as least abrasive to the building under all intents. Thank you.
Okay. I live in the 1704. And he say he wanted doing the asbestos in the pipe. He opened my ceiling. I can stay in my apartment. I'm going to the Hilton for 3 weeks. I have the tile broken. Everything is destroyed. Okay? He painting so bad. That happened to me. I don't want nobody in here doing what he doing. It's so asbestos. I need to pay $320 about 1 week ago to the air condition. I paid $700 to cover inside with some, I don't know, and the conduct. It's terrible. And now I gone to the doctor and I can see from that side, right? When I gone to the doctor and I can see when the high, I'm using medicine for 1 year. And now you know why? With the 3 ago is broken too, and I need one to the hospital to clean my tears. What is that? I don't want nobody happen what I doing, okay? It be so hard for me. Somebody give me the apartment for 1 week, but I need to pay in the Hilton for 3 weeks, okay?
Understand. Okay, so did you say your unit was 1704? Well, fortunately for you, we don't have to go into 1704. We do not have to go in your unit. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, yes, ma'am?
I'm just doing my renovation. I'm a 12th line. And in one of the bathroom, I removed the original medicine cabinet. And I see my riser. So you're welcome to come to figure out exactly where the risers are. And B, in order for you to restore, are you planning to put the electrical back, the medicine cabinet back, and the sink back? That's what you're planning to do?
If that is the only way we can access the riser,
That's the only way.
if that is the only way, we can't do it through the other wall. Maybe
No.
we can do it through the other unit. Maybe
No,
we can
you
do it
have
through
a
the hallway.
kitchen. You have a kitchen in the back.
Okay, well, we'll look at it and we'll determine which is the easiest way. If that's the only way, then we're gonna put everything back the way it was. But it has to be done.
And I have another question to ask. Previously, with the previous one of the president, I said to him they were doing something in the hallways, and I said we have popcorn, which is asbestos. He sent me some kind of a report. I don't have it. I never saved it. That the condo association had 3 times tested our ceiling, and we don't have asbestos. Did you ever test the ceiling?
The building, the common areas of the building has been tested by Universal Engineering, and they had determined, and they're the ones that actually provided the game plan for us to actually do the remediation. So yes, you do. And it's a current test, we went through quite extensive reviews. The report was well over 90 pages long of identifying, and that's how all this was derivated by because of that. Yes.
Sir, I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
First, we don't live here, so what's going to be with the people that don't live here when you're going to do all the job? And second, all the job you do, is at no cost for us. What you take off and you put again and you paint and everything is on your cost.
The first part of your question, can you repeat that?
I don't live here.
Uh-huh.
I came only a few months a year, so probably I won't be here when you're going to do the job.
Okay, so the people that are affected are those, well, everybody's gonna be affected. Everybody has to leave their unit the day that we're going to do the asbestos abatement. So every, for vacant units, well, then you'll have to make arrangements to leave the keys so that we can have access to that unit.
You have the keys, the
Okay,
administration.
well, then that, we'll coordinate that with the management and, yes, yeah, we'll coordinate that with them. If anything needs to be removed, anything needs to be approved, we'll have them approve that to you. I'm sure they have some way of communicating with you, right? Right, so like I said, before we do anything, it has to be approved by GM Consulting, the engineer, and by management.
And they're going to.
And then they'll give us the approval.
They will be in touch with us.
Yes, sir.
Before you do all these jobs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And there is no extra cost for us. All the jobs you're going to do.
Very good question regarding the extra, in the event of you got a kitchen that has to be removed and reinstalled. Anything that was life safety that they removed, in other words, as a tub or not life safety, but as the requirements for you to occupy your space, which is a tub, a sink, any types of vanities that ways, will be reinstalled to get back up to running the same condition. What is a point that we're still through negotiation-wise is the building itself, as under the condominium and your documents, that states that the building is responsible for the drywall wall and stops at the drywall wall. So that means that if they remove a decorative crown molding, or they remove custom tiles that are on a wall that the tiles are not available, a cabinet that is, in certain instances, the association or you as all owners of the whole building are only responsible for putting it back to the drywall state. The finishes are two things that's happening still, is we're still in negotiations to find out how that's going to be dealt with as a price per unit. We already have prices from the contractor for unit base. So how much does it cost to remove a sink? How much does it cost to remove a toilet? How much does it cost to remove a tub? So it's all unit prices. How that gets derived at through the negotiations with the board and the contractors is how that's going to be dealt with. The association should only, and I know you're going to be upset, it should be only responsible for replacing to drywall state. That's in your documents that you all pay for.
What does that mean?
What that means that is in the event that you have, for an example, if you have imported Italian marble on that wall, the association is responsible for making the building safe, and the association is responsible for replacing that drywall or gypsum board. It does not state that it puts that marble back on the wall. So this is where we have to clarify under contracts and under your documents before we sign or elect the board to sign anything, is to make sure that you're in legal position to say what is limits of everybody to pay for, or what is limits of every individual owner to pay for that's inside your unit.
Painting is on your side.
Paint is under the, your association docs that the paint finish is your finish. And that's where the association. A toilet's different. The toilet is for occupancy. In other words, if you take out a toilet, you cannot occupy that building or that unit until the toilet's put back in. If it's the sink has to be reinstalled. So the cabinet is not life safety for you to occupy the space. And now this is still weird. Now don't get me wrong. We're not finished the negotiation. They have not been awarded the project. We've got to do two things. We've got to negotiate the nuts and the bolts per se, and we got to hit them where you can for pricing. So we're still negotiating. But at the same time, I want to be fair and transparent with everyone here, and that's what we're here for, is to tell you not to think that you're going to get your unit remodeled at the cost of all the owners. That I don't think it would be nice, but at the same time, I probably would be out the front door as fast as you could imagine. We have to comply to your documents that you all agreed to when you bought the unit. One person does not get special treatment from the other. So if the documents state we reinstate it back to the drywall to prime paint finish, that's what the documents state, unless your board, the owners, agree to something different. We could only uphold the documents that the board has provided us, which states that. Okay? Thank you.
Quick question in relationship to the timeline. If you're talking about each floor relatively having a month to be done, are we going to have any inspections that need to be done that are going to cause downtime that we're not going to be able to move forward until the inspections happen?
In the project that you already have, shall we say, been through on the other risers, where the inspection was either the municipality or a contractor that was waiting for inspections, when we put this RFP or this package together with the architects, we ensured that special inspections had to be undergo. So what that means is the contractor has to pay for the inspector or the special inspection, which is the architect of record, to be here and do inspections in a timely manner, so not hold up the contractor. So we've turned the cards around on this application. The first one, you did the work and waited for an inspection. This one here is we're going to do the work and the special inspection is going to be right at them. With the building having its own testing facility, and think about it, you have your own testing facility, they don't walk out that door and wait for someone to give them an answer. You have the facility here. So what you experienced on 4 and 7 and everything else, the whole exercise of putting this whole large RFP together was to mitigate and eliminate all those problems you had in the past.
In my case, and it's going to be a number of cases like mine, there's 2 back-to-back bathrooms. And my risers I saw myself, I in between them. It has to come through the breaking tiles. Now, the tiles, I understand that we have to let you in. You have to do it for the whole good of a building. I agree, no question here. But if you're removing this 3-foot wall, you're removing the 45, 48 years old tile that cannot possibly be matched to old one, which means that the whole wall and the floor and the step and the door, everything has to be replaced, which means thousands of dollars of damage. Yes, you do have a right, but I'll have a right to sue the condominium for the damages, if damages are done. Well, what I'm asking, if you're planning for it, I'm not arguing, I'm just asking if you plan for that, because if you leave me with $4,000 damage, I will go and sue building, and so that any other owner has to be fixed.
Okay, so we understood we understood that issue. It was brought up in the design of how do we execute a tile that is obsolete. We have discussed how are we going to maintain the contractor schedule. The contractor schedule is first and foremost to make sure that this building becomes safe, that the building actually becomes occupiable. The decorative or the decor finishes, the contractor is offered and is in their bid that they will retain the services of another contractor, that if you have the back wall, as an example, the back of your shower, that tile is no longer available. We all understand that, and we're all human. We know this is going to be an issue. If we have to repair the risers that are within that within that tiled wall, the amount of repair of the drywall is a point where if the contractor is able to actually cut the drywall in sections with the tile and remove and put back with the tile and regrout, it's a thing that we've talked about of execution. Again, each one they have to look at how to do it. It's not an easy task, but at the same time, you have to realize that the association under the original docs, you have to look at what is legal for the association and legal for you. But the extra cost to replace and re-update your whole shower, that's something that they're going to have to look at. You're going to have to look at is why would the association be liable for that because of repairing the building? And again, this is a discussion that it's not for me to take. It's just a point is it has been discussed with the contractor. There are instances that will come up that way, and we have to virtually understand how to proceed. But the contractors will not replace all your tiles at the cost of everybody else. You can't.
This is done for the best of everybody else.
The fire stopping and the insulation is the best for everybody.
So why everybody else shouldn't pay for it?
The interior tile, we're talking about. It's not,
It's damage done for the whole building, for the good of the whole building, you have to do damage, no other way.
yes.
But don't you have to pay for the damage?
It's not a position for me as your project manager to review. Sorry. Correct. Everything, keep in mind, everyone, like I said earlier, when you purchase this condo, as I purchased mine, as we all purchased, we all have condominium docs that we agreed when we purchased the limitations of what the condos association is responsible for and what every individual owner is responsible for. So if you want to have the property to go backwards and start, shall we say, you want to change the documents, this is not the venue to change the documents. This is, we're trying to make this building healthy for you to breathe, for you to live in this building. So, questions? Excuse me, everyone.
Quick question. Approximately, what's the time frame from the beginning you come in and come out? One
One month per
apartment.
floor.
16th floor.
16
Not
months.
floor. I am talking about one apartment.
One apartment, we no more than 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
No
Not
more than 2
more or
weeks.
more.
Less.
What
2
happens?
weeks or less.
Okay.
2 weeks or less.
What happens if the same situation was in the apartment on the line number 4? It was a couple months. What happens in this situation?
To bring up to par of what happened in the past, that's why this
Yes.
extensive document was implemented and the design was implemented, so you're not going down that road anymore.
So,
Sorry, say that again? That is in the tender documents and the bid documents that they have no greater than 2 weeks per unit. And keep in mind, if, I'm going to try and say this very easily or very lightly, we need cooperation from everybody in this building. For the reason why is when the execution or the work happens per floor, when the contractor says that we need this zone or the hallway vacated, for every time one owner does not want to leave their unit and they hold up the abatement company, that's causing a delay for everybody. So instead of an owner saying, I want you to only be 2 weeks out of mine and that's it, keep in mind that when they need you to vacate for the full day, that's not leaving at noon and saying, well, I still have to take a shower or something, I'll leave at 12. It's just to answer your question, and I'm trying to be as straight as I can. If we have to hold the contract,
no, without this, I am agree you were working 24 hours per day.
no, we can't.
No, I am agree if you
Yes.
want. So 2 weeks, no more.
Theoretically, for everything that is put in play, there should be no reason they should not be out of.
No reason.
There should be no reason unless there's any work that is delayed because of the direct owner's input. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
If no owner's input or no owner's objection or rejection or not allowing this contractor to execute the contract, technically, we've all been in this trade for many years. There should be no reason that we can't kick them out in 2 weeks per unit. Yes. You don't have to move, you're going to be disrupted, but there's the 1 day for the abatement, you have to leave for the day. Thank you.
I got 2 questions, and they're really follow-ups to questions asked previously. So as far as the timing and the scheduling, if you're doing it, and the mic just died, no, it didn't. If you're doing it 1 month per floor, and we're talking 16 floors in the building, because we don't have the 13th, obviously. Like, I'm on the lower floor, so theoretically, for me, we're talking like a year and a half down the road, right? Correct?
Correct.
Okay, and Rita asked about asbestos in the popcorn. I couldn't hear the response. We do have it or we don't?
In the hallways, yes.
We do. So is that something you're also addressing
Yes.
when you're going in there? You're doing the ceilings too?
In the hallways.
In the hall, exactly.
Of course,
You are.
that's the whole of, this presentation actually showed you how they're doing the hallway.
I
That's
can't
why you have to leave
see
for
or
the day.
hear much back here,
Definitely.
so sorry. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's complete. It's a very extensive project. Any other questions? Thank you very much, everyone. Where do you go if we take your toilet out for 2 weeks? Well, the toilet, if the drywall is removed, it does not mean the toilet is staying off for 2 weeks. If they take the toilet off to get the drywall behind, that same day, there should be no reason why the toilet at night. The tile on the toilet or tile behind the toilet? Okay. Correct. Yes. Yes. With just one. Yeah. You don't remove both sides. No, no. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Common elements.